I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome back to our series on the Havamal. Today we are looking at verse 130, and we have three different translations as per usual, and we will begin with the one by Olive Bray. I counsel thee, stray singer, accept my counsels. They will be thy boon if thou'st obey'st them. They will work thy weal if thou winst them. I pray thee be wary, yet not too wary. Be wariest of all with ale, with another's wife, and with a third thing eke that knaves outwit thee never. And the second translation from Vikinger.org. I enjoin thee to be wary, but not over wary. At drinking be thou most wary, and with another's wife. And thirdly, that thieves delude thee not. And the final translation from Bellows. Be not over wary, but wary enough. First of the foaming ale, second of a woman wed to another, third of the tricks of thieves. So, caution. Caution acknowledges the existence of danger without creating hysteria or freezing a person into inaction. Caution is about taking in the full breadth of the situation and recognizing what the suitable boundaries are. And caution is a safeguard, and that's really what this verse is getting at its core. So let's contrast that with paranoia, because paranoia creates emotional uproar and extreme reactions that really were not needed and were completely disproportionate to the situation. Paranoia bypasses the brain, labeling any and everything a threat, and that renders rational risk assessment absolutely impossible. And paranoia is ultimately a denial of life, and it rots away at the soil. So we do need to keep this well regulated. There's a virtue in caution, and there's nothing but suffering in paranoia. So let's talk about alcohol, which was the first thing mentioned. And now, because in moderation, alcohol really is a nice treat. It's an excess that it is a destructive master. And I've never understood why people, when they say that they're going to go have a drink, why they thought that it was necessary to drink to the point of drunkenness or drink to the point where they're making fools of themselves. You can have a glass of wine, you can drink a beer, you can have a shot without taking it too far. I mean, and so I really find the current puritanism of, oh, I'm sober, I'm just sober, I'm principled, this total absence of alcohol. It does result in people being a trifle too assured of their own virtue and superiority as a human being. Now, if someone is addicted, they're an alcoholic, then of course they do need to avoid it entirely. But if you're just doing it to do it, it's kind of this virtue signaling thing. I cannot stress how obnoxious that is. And of course, sooner or later, the pendulum will swing back and people will say, I just want to have a glass of wine with my dinner. There's nothing wrong with that. It is not hurting anything. Get out of my face. And then the last thing that was mentioned in the verse was theft. Now, all theft is, of course, based on deception, particularly if you get into con artist kinds of scheme. And the process of theft is really greatly expedited by encouraging people to drop their guard when they shouldn't. And you'll notice that in these schemes, urgency is often a factor. Hence, the need to be wary of anyone who's trying to pressure you into making quick decisions. Most decisions you're like, I can step back. Unless it's an emergency situation of, yes, pull this poor person away from the mouth of the crocodile, that requires swift decision making. But if it's not an actual emergency, be very cautious if anyone's saying, act now before it's too late. You might be better off by not acting at all. Now, the middle thing that was mentioned in the verse had to do with fidelity. There is a need for boundaries in friendships, particularly between men and women, or if you are attracted to the same sex, having some boundaries between people with whom you are just friends as opposed to your spouse. And this is especially when one or both parties are married to other people. Now, just because you're married, that doesn't mean that you need to give up your friendships or give up your acquaintances. That's not healthy. But it does require not becoming unduly familiar and not becoming too emotionally attached, because that's where affairs generally begin. It's because people did become emotionally too close. And this is quite frequently occurs if a marriage is going through a rough patch, or they don't understand me anymore, or they did something. And instead of dealing with it with your spouse, you turn for comfort to this friend with whom, maybe there was nothing wrong with your friendship before, but you're getting a little bit too emotionally entangled with them, and they're getting a little bit too informed about the thing. And it's good to remember that where the heart and the mind go, the body frequently follows, which is why affairs usually begin with the heart and they end up with the body. And just having good boundaries in these things, that just wards off a great deal of trouble. So again, having caution, but not paranoia, a happy medium. That's what the verse is encouraging. So that's what I took from this week's verse. Let me know in the comments what you got out of it. I'd be interested to hear about your interpretations of it, your experiences, your observations. It'd be fascinating to hear. So don't be bashful. And of course, next week we'll be going on to verse 131. And after Wicca 303 concludes at the end of August, I'm going to be giving you 2 Havamal verses a week because we are going to wrap this up this year. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.